Hello, I'm round at the back of the house. Behind me is our back garden. Now, it's not an area that we show you very often because we've been very slowly developing it over the 3 years that we've been living here. But we now have something that I want to show you. When we first moved in, the back garden was about waist high with docks and weeds. Around at the back of our house, I found these old aviary panels which are being used to hold back all of these weeds. I suspect they were originally used to keep animals from that area falling into this pathway. So I'm going to clear all these brambles and other weeds out of the way so it's clear enough for us to be able to get this panel out and reuse this. It's attached to this hedge and some pallets with baling twine, which I'm just getting rid of now. But more than anything, it's attached with ivy. So I'm going to have to just clip some of the ivy away, and then I'll be able to access this panel too. The actual aviary panel still looks in pretty good condition. Certainly it's good enough for what we want to do with it, and we've worked on removing as many of the docks as possible by strimming and strimming and strimming, so that's like knocking them back with a weed whacker, really keeping on top of them, and eventually I will get around to digging them out. In this section here there are some willows that the previous owner had planted really very close to the house, and bit by bit I'm working on removing these. Well, things don't usually come out this easily. I don't think this one is a bit of willow. We're trying to keep those cut back, and eventually I will get to dig those out. When we first moved in, it took me about a day and a half just to clear all the soil that was in amongst these steps. They were completely covered to about this height. So I dug all this out and found the steps. And it's great to be able to walk up to the back garden. There's this very odd arrangement here, which had other posts on it. It had this old tyre on it, and we are trying to cut this out, but I think it's either filled with concrete or has a metal pole in the centre of it, because we can't even get a chainsaw through it. But other than that, I've got really quite a good space here to be able to turn into a garden over time. Now this isn't going to happen quickly because my priority is on the food and the food forest. My favourite plant in this garden is this lovely old magnolia. It was here when we moved in. It produces a fantastic display each spring. It is looking not hugely healthy this year, and in fact parts of it have pretty much died off. So I'm going to have to give this a bit of TLC, some extra feed and things, but that's fine. But then you might notice behind the magnolia there's something new. Back in 2015, when we first started smallholding or homesteading, we'd only been there a week or so before we got our first chickens, and they were given to me by my daughter. Now they were 3 chickens. They were named Jack, Diesel and Bluebell, and they were pre-named by my grandchildren. They were very quickly followed by 6 crested cream leg bar chickens because we wanted to have blue eggs, and then over the next year or two I got a little bit carried away. And we ended up with a huge number, something like 120 chickens. I was selling the eggs, but it was really far too many. And we got through a huge amount of food. Morning. It's a bit before 7 in the morning. I'm being quite quiet because I don't want to disturb my neighbours. But I thought I'd bring you with me to do the morning chores. Now, I'm not very awake yet. they took a lot of care. So over the next couple of years I then wound the flock down again, and in 2020 I decided that I really had enough of keeping chickens. I was battling with red mite, which lives in their housing, and we had wooden sheds and wooden chicken houses, and I just kind of got fed up with trying to battle with it. So I said I'm not going to have chickens anymore. Until 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by Omelette, who make these coops, and they kindly gifted me a coop and run, and there's also a walk-in run, which we haven't put together yet, but will do very soon. And they said, would we like to keep chickens again? I said, yes, actually I would. Since the fox caught the last of our ducks earlier in the year, we haven't had any poultry on site, so we've had to be buying supermarket eggs. And Mr. J and I felt there was no way we could have ducks free ranging, because basically we'd just be feeding the foxes. So I'm really pleased to be able to have some chickens again. These chickens came from Fresh Start for Hens. It's a charity that rehomes chickens that have been on farms, and it gives us a chance to have chickens that are not at their very peak of production. But to be honest, these are going to carry on laying plenty of eggs for us over the next 2, 3 or maybe 4 years. Now, they can look quite scruffy when they arrive, but it won't take them long to settle in and to grow new feathers. And you're all right girls, aren't you? And they've been laying eggs for us since they arrived, because they were already productive egg layers. A couple of them are laying eggs with very thin shells, but you know what, I think a bit more time out in the garden, lots of fresh air, lots of fresh vegetables from my veg garden, and these eggshells will soon thicken up. As for the rest of the garden, there's still a lot of work to do on this, and it will only be done a little bit by bit. It's incredibly uneven, to make an absolute understatement of it. There is a water trench or gully or whatever that goes down over there, and apparently at one point there was a big pond in here. Not since we've been here, but when the previous owners moved in, they said there was a huge pond here somewhere. And in fact, I found what looks like an overflow outlet for a pond in that direction. There are some quite big stones around here, so I'm wondering if these were the edging of the pond. We may or may not reinstate a pond in here. We really haven't got that far yet. But first of all, we will make sure that we have finished building the chickens' run and put that in the corner over there. And then we will decide what else we're going to do and make it a space that we want to come out, bring a cup of tea and sit down and just relax for a few minutes.